Welcome to Citizens Hotline with me, Kavita Krishnan, the show where we tell you how to demand services that you are entitled to as taxpayers, as citizens, from your elected government representatives and from your bureaucrats, and how to ensure that you get those services. With me on the show today to answer all your questions is Sapna Karim of Janaagraha. Sapna joins me from Bangalore. Welcome to the show, Sapna.
Thank you, Kavita.
We'll begin with some good news first. A big Mirror Now impact. This comes from the national capital. After a relentless coverage, the Delhi Jal Board officials were forced to act to reinstate proper water supply in the Model Town area by installing a sewage pump. The residents of Model Town area, New Delhi, were suffering severe water crisis for over 3 months. Sewage water would mix with Delhi Jal Board's water supply, and the sewage was in fact choking the drains in the area. Milan Sharma, who tracked that story, got us his report.
After Mirror Now's coverage on the water crisis in this particular area, part of Model Town, the Delhi Jal Board officials were forced to act and check the leakage of the water coming from the sewerage into the pipes that supply water to the city in Delhi. This right here is a digging place wherein the work is going on to check whether the water that is being mixed from the sewer into the Delhi Jal Board pipeline can be fixed. In fact, the officials of the Delhi Jal Board have also started a tendering process which will help lay in a new pipeline, because this particular colony is over 50 years old and the pipelines laid here are also about 50 years old. In New Delhi, this is Milan Sharma reporting for Mirror Now.
First, that could be the beginning to the end of the water woes that is being faced by all of those residents over there. This should hopefully lead to potable water coming from their taps. Moving on to the first question of the day, also from Varsha in Delhi, who's a resident of the very same area. Now she says, I congratulate Mirror Now for the campaign against dirty water. The Jal Board officials have finally reacted, and we had been facing water issues, she says, over the last 3 months, which is what our report also told you. Now she says that pipe laying work has started, but whom do we contact in case we need to address any more issues? Sapna, can I bring you in here? Also, the other thing that I would want you to address in your answer, apart from how can residents escalate this issue, is that how can residents get such issues addressed to begin with?
Sure. As you have also already pointed out, the water issue is taken care of by the Delhi Jal Board. So any maintenance, any lack of supply of water can always be raised to the Delhi Jal Board. In addition, it's always good when communities come together, on common issues that affect them, and actually work with their elected representatives, with their ward councillors to escalate these issues. I'm sure the Delhi Jal Board will also have a redressal number and a forum where citizens can raise these complaints. In addition, of course, to coming, to having media support them. But these would be ways by which communities can come together to raise these issues and get them resolved.
Right. So, Sapna, essentially you are in favor of the community coming together and a collective effort. But if you have to begin addressing these issues, where do people start? Do they have to send a written complaint? How do they follow it up? How often do they follow this up? And when do they think, when should they think that enough is enough? Let's escalate this.
Most organizations that govern cities, and a lot of them will have citizen charters, and a citizen charter which says that for a certain type of a complaint, there is a turnaround time for redressal. They also will have forums where one can post these complaints. Sometimes it's an IVR. I'm not sure about which one it is for the Delhi Jal Board, but I'm sure it's available on their website. It could be a call-in number. It could be an online forum. It also could be where you call the engineer in the local ward or, the mohallas that we're living in to raise this complaint. There normally is a cycle time for redressal, and once, twice you've followed up, you're not able to get a redressal, it's always good to have communities come together and escalate these issues to their elected representatives and also then to the next level in the Delhi Jal Board itself. So that would be one way of actually putting the complaint out there in the open, in the public forum, and also then having a system by which citizens are coming together to actually raise these complaints in the event it does not get resolved, of course. So an online posting of the complaint, suppose there is an IVR, then we actually call in for the complaint. Raising it to the elected representatives of the areas that they live in is also a good way to actually bring awareness on issues that they are facing.
Right. So a number of things, all of that of course to ensure that your complaint is heard and is constantly being heard by the people in question. Delhi of course has a portal on which citizens can go and register their complaints. My team will put it up in just a bit on your screen. But moving on from Delhi to a question that's coming from Ranchi. Now Vinayak says that he often notices that there are cables lying on the streets of his city. He wants to know whom he can contact regarding this. Please advise. Sapna, how can one figure out which agency is the one concerned, especially in where unattended cables come into the picture?
Sure. I'm not sure what kind of cable is actually lying, on the roads in Ranchi. If they are electrical cables, one can always raise this with the, the electric supply company. Otherwise, it may be an OFC cable. It could be, just cable TV wires. So I'm not sure which cable it is, which kind of cable. But it could be raised with the electric company. It also could be raised to the municipality, to the corporation, the local ward office, in case they are able to find out who that cable actually belongs to and get it removed. What I also know is I think TRAI is doing a project on ducting in Jharkhand itself, and that project will actually take care of providing common ducts under the surface, under the footpaths for all kinds of cable and utilities to go through. And this is something that we've done in Bangalore through the Tendusure project, so that you don't have cables lying on the ground. You will not see them. There are ways by which they can be, access to for maintenance and for repairs, and you will definitely not see cables lying around. Hopefully this pilot project that TRAI is doing could be something that is expanded around in Jharkhand, and Ranchi could be covered too. So in the near future, hopefully this is not something that we will have to see very often.
So pilot project over there which should hopefully get you some relief. But since there is a pilot project, would you suggest that he get in touch with the organization, that is the agency that is actually doing the pilot project, which will also probably help escalate the issue?
I don't think so, Kavita. Right now the best bet would be to check with the electric supply company if it is electricity cable that is on the ground, or with the municipality itself, because we don't know which kind of cable is actually lying. The municipality is the best bet to see where, even if it's not theirs, they would be able to direct the citizen, in this case Vinay, to go and actually get it redressed.
So should probably try getting in touch with your ward officer over there, and your ward officer will be able to tell you who that cable actually belongs to, and then you can get in touch with the agency in question and raise the problem. Moving on to a question from Chennai, Naveen writes in and says that his house is on one of the main roads, and that road is filled with potholes. Every day, motorists, he says, are involved in accident because of these potholes. We've tried getting in touch with concerned authorities, but nothing has worked. What action can I take? Of course, Sapna, we did hear of action being taken by authorities after those floods that Chennai saw last year, but clearly it's not worked, because Naveen over here has a problem.
Right. I mean, this will be a common issue across cities during monsoons. There are heavy rains, roads always given because of the quality of work, which is not always up to mark, and which is why roads actually get eroded really quickly underwater. But there are two things. One is to, of course, raise it as a collective community, right? If there are many people actually being impacted by this and there are accidents, which is a real cause for safety and for concern of citizens' lives, it's great if people can come together and then raise these issues to the authorities, to their local ward councillors, to their ward officers, to the engineering departments that are responsible for laying of these roads. There is always strength when a lot of people are talking about an issue which is of which is common to them, which actually impacts all of their lives and their quality of life together. That always ensures that there is a response, there is action from the agencies, rather than having individual citizens pick it up. It is our right and our duty to actually, as individual citizens, reach out to government. But in cases where you're not able to hear from them very quickly, it helps to get people together, people who have the same issue, people who can voice collectively about something that's really troubling them, to get authorities to actually respond. So in this case, I would suggest that getting together people, actually maybe even writing a letter that's signed by a bunch of residents to the local ward offices, to the councillor, and letting them know that this is a serious concern and they would like the road to be asphalted and the potholes to be fixed really quickly, should be of some help for this particular problem.
Right, and in fact, Chennai has some time to go before the rains, because Chennai typically sees rains in November and December. You get the northeast monsoon over there. So you at least have some time in hand, and it's not like the rest of the cities in India. But Sapna, Chennai also has a typical problem in that they do not have an elected municipal corporation. The elections to the municipal corporation had been suspended some time back, and as on date, there is no elected body in charge. So the city, in fact, is being run by the bureaucrats. In such a case, what can citizens like Naveen do? There are, of course, days when they can meet with the additional municipal commissioner and the municipal commissioner. Should they just take advantage of that?
Naveen and his residents, I would suggest meet with the ward engineers, because there are departments that are tasked with actually maintaining infrastructure in the city, and there will be budgets that are allocated for execution of works in the city. It's important that they reach out and actually raise these issues to departments that are supposed to execute this work, and in this case it most probably will be the engineering department in Chennai, which is responsible for executing major roads, small roads, and all of that. And Naveen and citizens can come together and actually raise this, write it as write a letter to their concerned officials, escalate and copy those letters to the commissioner and the joint commissioners, depending on the various levels. These are things that will actually get the issue to be noticed and actually addressed in quicker turnaround times than having individual citizens take the difficult task of running behind these issues on their own. It's important that people come together and raise these to their officials who can take care of this.
Right, so Naveen, get the community together, launch a signature campaign and follow it up. Go to the ward officer, meet with the ward officer and keep following it up. If there is no action over there, then of course you will need to escalate it to the senior most officer. Moving on, Sanjay writes in from Mumbai and says, lot of congestion in the Sion area of Mumbai, adding to the traffic. There is a problem of hawkers. Seems like the BMC does not care. Whom do I approach now? What can he do, Sapna?
Traffic congestion can be addressed to the traffic police, of course, in Mumbai. Hawkers will come under MCGM itself, but he can also post this complaint on ichangemycity.com, which is a platform that we run, which is also available and active in Mumbai. And if he can post this complaint, get all of his fellow citizens who are affected by this complaint to also vote upon this, it will gather momentum. It will be seen. It's important to put this out there in the public domain to get people to galvanize citizens around this. One of the things that we've seen is that what gets noticed is when people come together around an issue. It could be anything. When people come together around an issue, the probability of that getting heard is always higher than individual citizens taking it up, because we all know that our city's infrastructure is not, has some way to go before it reaches great levels of I would say, or higher levels of quality. And in that event, while municipalities are trying various ways to reach out to citizens, to create platforms for interaction and engagement, it's important that we come together as communities and do this. So if there is an issue, he can always post it on ichangemycity.com. MCGM itself has a complaint registration form which is also available online, in which he can also go and register the same complaint under the issues of traffic. Raise it to the local police station. There will be a traffic inspector. We can share some numbers with you, Kavita, and you can share it with the gentleman post the show, where there are email IDs and telephone numbers that would probably be helpful in reaching out to a specific individual in the police station itself.
That'd be great, Sapna. In fact, we can take those numbers and pass it on to Sanjay. Of course, Sanjay, you can call in on 1916. That is the hotline of the MCGM. That is a helpline that they have, the BMC. You can call in and register your complaint. You will get a complaint number. Make note of that and keep following up. Use that number to keep following up with your local ward office. Of course, the other thing, Sion is one of those few areas which has a very active citizenry in Mumbai. Sapna, the BMC also has seen newly elected corporators take charge a few months ago. Do you think that this would be something where citizens should get in touch with the corporators they elected to the BMC and tell them that, it's time you work for your vote?
Absolutely, Kavita. I think as a rule, while citizens do use complaint redressal forums, IVR numbers, call centers and websites to link up with their civic agencies on civic issues, as a parallel step, I think it should be just a norm that we always reach out to our elected councillors and our ward representatives for of course the fact that you have to get them to understand what's really troubling the citizen. The other is to get them involved in addressing local civic issues, because we've elected them, they are your voice in the city council, and it is one of their roles to actually help improve the quality of life for citizens in that area. So completely agree. I think it's important that citizens come together, meet the ward councillors, enlist his help and support in actually getting the issue resolved in the first place.
And Sanjay, very quickly, as far as your traffic problem is concerned, the traffic police in Mumbai is very active on Twitter. We suggest you take a photograph and post it, tagging the traffic police, the traffic commissioner, and you should hopefully see some kind of action over there as well. Time for us to slip into a short break on Citizens Hotline, but do stay with us. We will take some more questions on the other side. Welcome back. This is Citizens Hotline, and of course, this is a show where we tell you how to get your government to work from you. To begin with, before we go back to our expert Sapna Karim, who's with us from Janaagraha, let us bring to you a story, the good news of the day, the big Mirror Now impact, of course, from Delhi. Let us take you to that. This was an issue that Mirror Now picked up from Delhi. And after Mirror Now's relentless coverage from the area of Model Town in Delhi, and after the channel's relentless coverage, Delhi Jal Board officials were forced to act to reinstate proper water supply in the area. Let's listen in to Milan Sharma, who sent us that report. Big Mirror Now impact over there. And this is what happens when citizens come together, take charge and get the government to work for them.
After Mirror Now's coverage on the water crisis in this particular area, part of Model Town, the Delhi Jal Board officials were forced to act and check the leakage of the water coming from the sewerage into the pipes that supply water to the city in Delhi. This right here is a digging place wherein the work is going on to check whether the water that is being mixed from the sewer into the Delhi Jal Board pipeline can be fixed. In fact, the officials of the Delhi Jal Board have also started a tendering process which will help lay in a new pipeline, because this particular colony is over 50 years old and the pipelines laid here are also about 50 years old. In New Delhi, this is Milan Sharma reporting for Mirror Now.
And if you have any issue, any civic issue whatsoever, here's how you can get in touch with us. Do use this number extensively. We are putting up a number on your screen. That is the Mirror Now's WhatsApp number, take a photograph, shoot a video, location tag it, send it to us with your details, your contact details and the city that you live in, and we will help you to get the government to work for you. Sapna Karim is back with us. Sapna, we have Avinash who's written in from Bangalore, and he says that my house is located on the outskirts of the city and the problem is that they burn garbage in my locality. This is hazardous and we agree. How can Avinash get rid of this problem?
Absolutely, completely a hazardous issue, and one that is prevalent across many localities in Bangalore. Avinash should definitely raise a complaint. He can of course raise one on ichangemycity.com in Bangalore itself. Get his fellow citizens to definitely vote up on that complaint. We will help transfer that complaint to the respective agencies and ensure that it gets into a redressal mode. In addition, it's important that Avinash also looks at raising it with the BBMP, that is the Bangalore Municipal Corporation's Health Department, who's in charge of solid waste management in the city, to see why there is the burning and how they can actually go and explore this issue and address it in the first place. But importantly, one is to definitely register the complaint online with the BBMP's Health Department on ichangemycity.com, and we can help address that quickly.
Right, and something that I ask every guest on my show, I've made a complaint, I've registered the complaint, met the officer in question. How long do I wait for the officer to take action before I start reminding him that, hey, I raised a complaint? 1 day, 2 days, when do I start calling up that officer?
Yeah. See, all complaints, there are certain complaints that can be resolved very quickly. For example, unattended garbage that's lying on the street, things like this, which is burning of garbage, which can be quickly investigated and stopped right away in a couple of days, if not even within a day. So there are charters, there is a citizen charter that will describe as to what are the turnaround times for some of these. And as we very well know, there are other complaints. For example, it could be let's say lack of water supply to your neighborhood or to your locality, which involves some infrastructure investment and so on, which is a project that has to be planned and undertaken, which could take a little bit longer. But all of this, municipalities across the country are should put this data out in the public domain. Should actually list out how and what and which problems get resolved and what kind of turnaround times, because that gives the citizen a sense of information, a sense of comfort to know that when can he actually then escalate it to the next level. Issues like water supply will take possibly longer, but issues like garbage, especially burning of garbage and so on, should have very short turnaround times. So they should post it and quickly hopefully see this being stopped within a couple of days, if not sooner.
Right, that of course, Sapna, is how much time it would take to actually resolve the issue. But for action to begin, how often should I call up the officer concerned?
I think it would help to call them, especially for issues which are hazardous, issues which actually could be a health and a safety concern. We should just call them till such time that they actually, get there. So if you have to call them every couple of hours to ensure that somebody comes and addresses the issue, especially in cases like these where garbage is being burnt and very close to where residential localities, are, it's important to call them more than once every day. And escalate it within the day in the event that they do not hear from their officers or do not have any officers come and visit the area where garbage is being burnt.
Right, in fact, a smart thing to do, and this is something that has been discussed on the show earlier, is that you share the number with a group of citizens, and all of you all call that particular officer, so that the officer at least knows that citizens are in pain and this is a problem that they've taken cognizance of and something that they want solved. This will also increase the amount of pressure on the officer concerned to solve that problem. Another question from another gentleman named Avinash in Bengaluru again, and he says that I've been trying to pay property tax online but I'm not able to. I do not want to go to the BBMP office and pay it there. What do I do? Sapna?
Okay. Yes. From what I know, and I think the property tax, I don't know when Avinash tried this, last, But I think it has been rectified, is what I hear. I mean, I paid my taxes myself and it was a breeze and I didn't have any issue in paying my taxes. But in the event Avinash is still finding it a problem to pay taxes online, I would suggest not to delay and to use, there is still an extended time. They have provided for some more rebate, until the end of the month, I think, or maybe that was the 31st. But to go and actually go to the ward office and, complete that activity rather than wait for it, to get fixed online. But having said that, I did pay my taxes, so it didn't pose any problem. So maybe if Avinash can just try this once again, and then possibly if it still doesn't work, go to the ward office and pay your taxes this time. I'm sure the BBMP will find a way to fix it sooner than later.
Right. Better pay that tax and get it over with rather than delay it and have to face the penalty later on. With that, of course, we come to an end of this episode of Citizens Hotline. Sapna Karim, thank you very much for answering all those questions. And of course, if you have any questions whatsoever related to civic issues, numbers on your screen over there, do send them in. Those are all our contact details. We also have a WhatsApp number which we'll put out. Send them in, get in touch, and we will show you how to get the government to work for you. Thank you for watching.